We're proud to announce once again the 2017 inductees to the University of Wisconsin Athletic Hall of Fame. Sarah Bauer, Darrell Bevell, Brooks Bollinger, Brian Elliott, Tamara Moore, Arlie Schartz, Chris Solinsky, Bob Suter, Tracy Webster, Guy Lohman, and Mike Leckrone. Your class of 2017. Certainly welcome all of the coaches here at the University of Wisconsin, all the present coaches, and a warm welcome back to many of the former coaches who are here this weekend. It is great to see you here tonight. If we can quickly, if we could have all of the past Hall of Fame inductees to please stand so we can recognize you here tonight. And finally, I want to recognize specifically the athletics director here. You get to do a lot of cool things as a director of athletics, but I know Barry has said many times near the top of that list is when he can make that phone call to get in touch with the Hall of Fame inductees. A Hall of Famer himself, Barry Alvarez. Great to see you here again tonight, Coach. So with that, let us begin the ceremony, and we will start by directing your attention to the video as we highlight the 2017 Hall of Fame class.
Tried to define this year's Wisconsin Athletics Hall of Fame class with just one word, and you won't be wrong with achievement. But the 11-member class deserves more than just one word. UW identified this group as one of the most decorated and diverse to ever enter the Hall of Fame, and it's easy to understand why. Start with the most honored player in Wisconsin women's hockey history, the first to ever win the Patty Kazmaier Award and a two-time NCAA champion. From one first to another, the first quarterback to lead Wisconsin to a Rose Bowl win, he belongs in the Hall of Fame. And two quarterbacks are better than one, especially for a four-year starter and another Rose Bowl champion. It's a good day to put another hockey player in the Hall of Fame, especially when he was a national champion, a record holder, and a two-time All-Star during a 10-year NHL career. And make room for the 2001 Big Ten Defensive Player of the Year, a six-year WNBA player, and the UW record holder for steals and assists. There will always be room for the brave Badgers who entered into America's military and then went on to win UW's first ever Olympic gold medal. Let's keep running and try to keep up with a 3,000-meter and 5,000-meter track champion who blows away the pack with 11 All-America honors, the most in program history. Next, add a name synonymous with Madison, another NCAA champion, the first winner of the Fenton Kelsey Jr. Most Competitive Player Award, and a member of America's best hockey story of all time. Breaking a 40-year drought in the NCAA tournament, that's a story, and something Wisconsin basketball did in 1994 when this former Badger finished out a career that ended with him leading the program in assists. The diverse theme plays directly into a man who coached three different sports for Wisconsin: basketball, football, and baseball, winning the Big Ten title in baseball back in 1930. And finally, let's fire up the band and make room for this man who enters not his first or even second, but his third Hall of Fame. Ladies and gentlemen, please help us welcome the 2017 Wisconsin Athletics Hall of Fame class.
All right, with that, let us get started. Our first inductee in the class of 2017 is, among other things, the 2006 Patty Kazmaier Award winner, hockey player Sarah Bauer. To introduce Sarah, please welcome one of her former coaches, Tracy DeKaiser. Tracy, come on up.
Well, thank you. I'm really excited to be here with Sarah and her family and some former teammates. We're supposed to have 1 minute to tell you why these former athletes, are deserving. And just quite simply, Sarah was one of the most inspiring players that I ever had the pleasure to coach. I think on a personal note, the reason I was so inspired by her, we're kind of similar in stature. We're both from Ontario, came south of the border to play college hockey. But let's be honest, Sarah was a much better athlete than I ever was. She was a star athlete. She was a star student here. And for those that are not familiar with hockey, you would kind of liken her to the Wayne Gretzky of her era. If you knew or saw Wayne play, he would always do his work by setting up his office in behind the net and just wreaking complete havoc on the opposition. And that's exactly what Sarah did. She could control the tempo of a game. She could turn it up and then strike with offense and score a goal. She could finish. She could create. She was just an all-around student athlete. And when we won the first national title, she helped us really make the great state of Wisconsin the state of hockey again. And she was really one of the key players that brought the program, the Wisconsin Badger hockey program, to the elite level that it is to this day. So thank you, Sarah, for making Badger hockey what it is.
Please welcome inductee Sarah Bauer. Come on up. Congratulations. This will be nice and easy. We'll just come on over. The Wayne Gretzky of your era. How about that? That's pretty impressive.
Yeah, probably not even close to the truth, but I'll take it.
There's a great thing going on here in going back to last spring about why Wisconsin, why student athletes choose Wisconsin. Why Wisconsin for you?
Well, I think looking back on it, all I was smart enough to realize when I got here what a special place it was. I came down for my visit, and up until that point, I didn't know that much about the university. But I was sold when I saw it, and the professionalism here, and the energy, and the way that everybody embraces the Badgers. It's just a special place.
Give us an idea of what it was like. We've heard from Tracy what it was like with this staff, playing for this staff, with Tracy and obviously Mark Johnson.
We had an excellent mix there, and again, energy comes to mind. The coaches always, a few things we always knew is that we were going to be very well prepared, and we were going to carry ourselves with professionalism, and I think that we all really enjoyed playing for all three of our coaches, and it was definitely a privilege.
I would love your perspective on the growth of women's hockey in a relatively short time, including here specifically now with LeBron Arena, what that's like.
Sure, and I took my family through there today, and all the resources that are right at hand there, it's excellent for the student athletes, and again, things are always done right here, and we're provided with whatever we need to succeed, so that's great.
Final one for you, and it's a question that each of the individuals we talk with tonight, we will pose the question. It's probably the hardest one, the thank yous, knowing that you probably can't hit on everybody, but are there some folks specifically you'd like to thank?
Sure, and I agree with you 100%. That's the hardest question to answer, especially in any succinct form, because you look again at what's provided for student athletes here from the donors' perspective and the fan support. Again, our coaches, and I've got some teammates here who I'm really appreciative that they came by. And then, our entire team, it was a privilege to be a part of that group. And it's very much something I would love tonight to be able to share with all of my teammates and even the players who came before us, because yeah, we took the program to another level with our ability to win the national championship, but there was people who came here not long before I did to start the program, and that was huge. And then obviously I've had a ton of support from my family, and I'm really, really thankful.
Congratulations, you're a Hall of Famer, very deserving. Thank you, Sarah. Sarah Bauer. Next up, we honor the quarterback of the 1993 Big Ten champion, and as mentioned in the video, the first quarterback at Wisconsin to lead his team to Rose Bowl victory. He is a busy guy, but he is here before the Seahawks take on the Colts on Sunday night. Please welcome Hall of Famer, offensive coordinator, we'll hear from him momentarily, Darrell Bevell. To introduce Bev will be his coach, a Hall of Fame coach and athletics director, Barry Alvarez.
Thank you, Matt. What a great night to celebrate Wisconsin athletics. I look at some of these guys, and I'm getting flashbacks from back in 91, 92, with the basketball and football teams trying to flip the program around, and it just makes me smile and feel so proud of what's been accomplished. But if I told you that one of the most famous touchdown runs in Wisconsin football history was orchestrated by a guy who was almost 24 years old, had transferred to Wisconsin from northern Arizona, had previously spent 2 years on a Mormon mission in Cleveland, and just barely beat me in a 40-yard dash. You might think I'm crazy. In all seriousness, though, Darrell Bevell's 21-yard touchdown run in the 94 Rose Bowl flat out put our program on the map. It put an exclamation point on the phrase, "Why not Wisconsin?" Bev still holds a lot of our school passing records, including completions, yards, touchdowns, but more importantly, he brought maturity, leadership, and toughness to our program. It's not an overstatement to say that Bev and his teammates had accomplished what they've accomplished, did more, and did what they have done, put our football program in a position that they are today. I always thought he'd be a great coach. Grew up as a coach's son, I called him a gym rat. I knew someday he'd prove me right, and he has. He became the quarterback's coach at Green Bay and has since been the offensive coordinator at both Minnesota and Seattle. He's carved out a tremendous career for himself, and I couldn't be more proud of him. It's a great honor and pleasure to welcome Darrell not only back to Madison, but also into our Athletic Hall of Fame. Darrell Bevell.
You're a lot faster than Coach, aren't you?
I don't know. When I first got here, I might not have been. I might have been a close race.
Need your permission because Barry mentioned it. I wear people out. With obviously greatness with the football program, position groups, offensive line, Tarek's here, defensive guys, the whole deal. But they like to call themselves running back U. But I tell people the most famous run in school history was yours in the Rose Bowl. Are you okay with that? Can I keep wearing people out with that?
You can keep doing that. I love it.
Barry mentioned the Why Not Wisconsin. That was the Joe Panos line early in the season. Was it? I think it was after maybe the Big Ten opener in Indiana. But was it that moment, or was there another time, Bev, where you thought, yeah, this team has the goods to take it to Pasadena and win?
Yeah, I think the turning point for us was, unfortunately, that loss to Northwestern the year before. And, there was a big group of guys that had decided that, we had a special team and a special quality about us. And, I think pretty much the whole team stayed that summer and dedicated themselves to that next season. And we saw something, and we really came together in that off season. And, I think when Joe said that, it really hit home with us.
What was it like for you when you first got here? People didn't know a lot about you. You probably didn't know a lot other than Brad, Coach Childress, about the area. How long did it take you before, okay, this is a good fit, this is going to work?
Well, when I stepped off the plane from Arizona in January, I wasn't quite sure, but I think Coach Childress on the recruiting visit put a little coat on me. I didn't even have a coat, but quickly, really quickly, it was a family atmosphere. My teammates, they embraced me right away. They were trying to figure out how this older guy, was going to come in and lead these guys, but they all embraced me. I had great teammates, had great coaches, and we fit together right away.
You have played and coached on the biggest of stages. Was there ever any question, Coach's son, as Coach Alvarez mentioned, was there ever any doubt that you were going to do this for a living?
Well, I sure hoped I was going to play, but after that last game, it ends for all of us at some point. But I knew that coaching was in the cards. I remember all the nights that I got to spend with my dad, watching that 16-millimeter tape with the one button going back and forth. We spent a lot of time watching tape together, and so I knew that was something I wanted to do. I have so much passion for the game. I love the game of football, and to be able to continue to do it today is really special.
All right, now the tough one. Who all would you like to thank?
Well, there's so many people to thank, and it starts, way back. It starts, with your parents. My mom and dad are here tonight. Appreciate them. I'm a wimp. I'm sorry. I got 3 daughters, so this is what happens to you. But I got a huge group of people here to thank. Friends from Green Bay, friends from Madison, friends from Minnesota time, people who flew out here from Seattle, coaches. Coach Childress is a special guy to me. Too bad he couldn't make it tonight because they play this weekend as well. He's with the Chiefs. He coached me at Northern Arizona. He brought me here, so I owe a lot to him. Coach Alvarez, that introduced me. It was a special time. We were trying to turn this program around, and he took a chance on me. A guy hadn't played football really in 5 years. I hadn't played in a football game. So to take that chance. All the teammates that I have, I saw a couple guys here. The teammates, you don't do it without those guys. The big hogs up front took care of me. That was, I just saved that one run for that one moment. That's all I had. So they really needed to take care of me. It's exciting, too, not to think, but it's cool to see, Michael Finley, Tracy Webster, all the guys that, to go in with some of these guys that were during my time. It's really cool to see those guys as well. But I think my wife, my kids, and I guess that's it.
Congratulations, man. So glad you could be here. So deserving. Thanks, man.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Bev. Our next honoree, another quarterback, the 1999 Big Ten Freshman of the Year. Of course, helped his team to the 2000 Rose Bowl championship. That would be Brooks Bollinger. Now, Brooks is a busy guy tonight. He is not here this evening. He's coaching his high school team up in the Twin Cities, but we still want to honor him and do it the right way. And who better to introduce him than Brooks's left tackle, one of the best around, and 3 years ago was inducted into this very Hall of Fame. Please welcome Deputy Athletic Director Chris McIntosh.
Thank you, Matt. Briefly, because this situation won't present itself again, before I talk about Brooks, I owe Darrell Bevel a big thank you as well. That run, that game, sealed the deal for me and made me want to be a Badger as well. And had that not taken place and that game taken place, I probably wouldn't be standing here today. So Brooks Bollinger, where do you start with Brooks Bollinger? I had the pleasure of playing next to Brooks Bollinger in the 1999 season. I was a senior, and he was a freshman. And I will tell you this, the best way I can describe Brooks Bollinger is this. Brooks Bollinger is the person that you want on your team. I don't care what team you're talking about. He was the quarterback of his high school team. He was the shortstop, and he was the point guard. He's that kind of guy. He's that kind of guy in life. He's the son of a coach. And anybody who's been around athletics knows the son of a coach comes with an inherent set of skills. He's uncanny, he's smart, he anticipates. He could be called an advisor. He might be the only advisor to Barry Alvarez as a true freshman at the University of Wisconsin. That is, when Barry Alvarez was chewing Mike Samuel's butt for missing passes on a Thursday practice, this cocky, young, true freshman walks over to Barry and says, "Hey, Coach, it's Thursday. Aren't we supposed to be building their confidence on Thursday?" Only Brooks. He could be thought of as an orchestrator. In his first start at Ohio State in the horseshoe, down 17-3, helps us score 42 unanswered points as a redshirt freshman. Swagger, you think so? Just a little bit? Fearless. His skills go beyond the field. He's a true friend to many of us in this room. Many of his teammates are here today to support him, even though he's not here. But if you ask me, the best word to describe Brooks is difference maker. He was the difference maker on the 99 team. We had a good team, a really good team. He was the difference in making us a great team. He's a difference maker in his family and with his clients, and it shouldn't come to us as a surprise tonight that he's making a difference with high school kids in Minnesota. That's the kind of guy he is. And so it's with that it's my distinct honor to welcome Brooks Bollinger into the UW Athletics Hall of Fame.
So we were able to catch up with Brooks a few weeks ago, or maybe earlier in the summer, and had a chance to hear from him as he coaches his team at this very moment. But let's hear in this video from Hall of Famer Brooks Bollinger.
It was a pretty special phone call, you know. It doesn't seem that long ago that, you know, he kind of put his arm around me and made me the offer to have a scholarship to come to the University of Wisconsin and play quarterback. I think I worked pretty hard, and I think I got pretty lucky. More than anything, it means just appreciation and gratitude for the opportunity I've had. You know, the teammates I've been able to have, the coaches I've been able to play for, the relationships I've been able to build as a result of playing here. And to me, it's a celebration of that. Some guys go into the Hall of Fame and they, you know, they kind of say, well, they made everybody else around them better. And I kind of feel the opposite way. I feel like everybody else around me made me better. I'm really thankful for that and thankful for that this place is a part of my life and helped shape who I am today.
We look forward to seeing Brooks. He'll actually be here tomorrow, so he'll be able to take part in part of the Hall of Fame weekend festivities. Our next honoree comes from the incredibly tradition-rich sport of Badger hockey. As fine a goaltender as this program has ever had, an All-American, a national champion. We're talking, of course, about Brian Elliott. To introduce Brian, we bring to the stage another champion, knows a whole lot about winning. Brian's teammate, Adam Bursch.
Thanks. Hi, my name's Adam Bursch, and I played 3 years of hockey here with Brian. And when Brian walked onto campus here, I think he showed up like the day before school started, and in through the locker room comes this 6'3", scrawny, kind of nerdy-looking kid with a mouthful of braces from Newmarket, Ontario. Now, Andy's the goalie. So those of you not familiar with hockey, goalies are to a T the most different, weirdest, quirkiest guys you'll ever be around. Kind of like kickers on a football team, but on a different planet than kickers even. I mean, think about it. Who would sign up to play a position where guys are coming around shooting hunks of rubber at your head at 100 miles an hour? Well, Brian did. Fast forward 3 years, now Brian's only got his braces off, and now he's the best goalie in the country, the best goalie any of us had ever played with. Can't score on him in practice, and if you did, you'd usually get you didn't try to shoot it there, I wasn't ready, it got tipped. try again, no way are you going to score on me. That was Brian, ultra competitive and held himself to a crazy, crazy high standard. 2006, we win the national championship, and without Brian, we wouldn't have had a chance. He was without a doubt the most valuable player on our team. He was the best player on our team. But I said goalies are different, and Brian was certainly different, but in the best sense of that word. There's a lot of hockey guys here tonight: Judry, Ryan Suter, Gary Suter, Sagasor, Coach Granato, Ronnie Vincent, Talafis. I'm sure I'm missing some, but I think they would all tell you also that Brian's a special guy. You don't meet guys like Brian or get a chance to play with guys like Brian in our sport very often. Brian's a great friend, he's a great teammate, and he's a proud, proud Badger. His wife's here, who I'm proud to stand and say served in the military. And Brian, dude, if you were like half as tough as her, imagine how good you really would have been then. Currently, he's the starting goalie for the Philadelphia Flyers, two-time NHL All-Star, 11-year NHL veteran, 2006 national champion, and now a 2017 University of Wisconsin Hall of Fame inductee. A great friend of mine and someone I admire. Ladies and gentlemen, Brian Elliott.
Adam's currently running for mayor of Madison, so if he could have your votes, that'd be great.
All right, it's off the list of questions you were supplied, but you are owed the rebuttal opportunity. Really that quirky? Is that the life of a goaltender?
No, I'm normal. I don't know what he's talking about.
Setting the record straight. Time flies, man. 2006, I think to a lot of Badger hockey fans, that may seem like yesterday when you guys were winning the national championship. Obviously, Adam is a great friend. You all have your lives, your families. Do you still have a chance to stay in touch with that group from 06?
Yeah, it's crazy how much we've stuck together. I think, I don't know how many, you can just, I mean, you don't have enough digits on you to count how many guys that are sticking around or coming back. We have the great golf tournament every summer. Blake Jeffreyon is organizing charity hockey games every summer. Just everything that brings everybody back, and I think we all benefit from that. And some of my best friends are here today, and from this program.
I think clearly a lot of people in the room know this, but for those who don't, you have always on your goalie mask made sure that the Motion W is a part of it. Obviously, that's something that's really important to you, is it not?
Yeah, I get made fun of sometimes about it. They're like, "Cut the cord here. You're gone. You're done." But we, as a goalie, you get to kind of, it's like tattoos almost. You get to put whatever you want on your mask, and I've always put that Motion W on the back ever since I left, just to, show where I came from and that I'm still proud to be a Badger.
Still a lot of barbs going around. If it's Minnesota or North Dakota, there's still a lot of that never ends, does it?
No, friendly bets. We're not allowed to bet on hockey, but no, we. It's funny. We're just talking with my teammates. They played at different colleges, and everybody says, "Man, I wish I went to Wisconsin. Like, you guys had a great town. It's so awesome playing there." And I can honestly say I've never said that about any other program to them. So I was like, I'm so glad I didn't go to Minnesota.
That's the answer of the night. Well, I was going to ask you about the Moose Call, but it's your Hall of Fame night, for crying out loud. But how did that start? You probably get a lot of requests because apparently you do the Moose Call really well. Not bragging
no, I don't
for
know
you.
if it's really well, but nobody really knows that story in here. But I had a great family friend that was world champion moose caller. It's actually a thing. And he passed away my freshman year of college, and I put a moose on the back of my helmet ever since, and still to this day. And now everybody calls me Moose, and even in some of the NHL rinks, when I make a save, it's Moose, and it's better than Boo, I guess. But
it's true. That's true.
So yeah, I said I wouldn't give another Moose Call till I win the Stanley Cup. Last time I did it was when we won the national championship.
So there you go. See, we'd like to educate during Hall of Fame weekend as well. Finally, Brian, who all would you like to thank?
Like everybody said before me, it's so hard to thank everybody that has got you to this level. I have to start with my parents. I mean, hockey is so involved for parents bringing you to the rink. If anybody knows, it's 6 a.m. practices, cold rinks in Ontario, and it's not the easiest thing. It's a big sacrifice that they have to make. So thank you to them. I wouldn't be here without them, and obviously coaches. Too many of them to name. All my teammates, I wish they could all be up here, especially our championship team tonight, and my wife, Amanda. We met here freshman year, asked her for her phone number. I didn't have a cell phone yet, so I had to wait by my dorm room phone to see if she'd call me. Still had braces on too, thank you, Burr. And you know, now we have our beautiful son that's going to grow up here in Madison too. So we, you know, Badgers through and through. We're going to make him go here, so he doesn't know that.
So now he knows, a future Badger. Keep it in mind. Brian, congratulations. Thanks so much.
Thank you very much.
I love that. I'm so glad I didn't go to Minnesota. That is awesome. We turn our attention now to women's basketball, and we honor clearly one of the all-time greats. She did so many things well, including being a lockdown defender. Talking about Tamara Moore. To introduce Tamara, please welcome one of her former teammates, Jessie Stomski.
Good evening. My name is Jessie Stomski-Syme these days, and I played here from 98 to 02, and I just have to say, it feels so good to be here in a room full of Badgers tonight celebrating some incredible people and some incredible careers. And Tamara and I played here together for 4 years, but we were teammates long before that. We played together AAU in Minnesota since we were sophomores, and we actually decided to come here together. Tamara was recruited from every program in the country, and she, instead of going to Tennessee to play for the legendary Pat Summitt, we decided to come here together, and we actually committed together on the phone, on three-way with Coach Albright, and we had an incredible 4 years here, and we even played 1 year together professionally. And I feel pretty confident in saying that Tamara is the most versatile player that ever played on the women's basketball team here. She ran point, but she could post you up. She could defend the post players. She could do everything in between, defense, offense. There's nothing that Tamara couldn't do. And there was Tamara could play many other sports too. She's a freak athlete. And, it was just an honor to be here with you. And, you know, her records, steals and assists, and the fact that I believe she has the longest WNBA career of any women's Badger player of 6 years. And those only tell half the story. The reason that Tamara is a Hall of Famer is because she has this drive, and she has this intensity, and she has this will. And I've never seen anything like it. There was this look on her face that it would come over her in times where it was like, it was time to get to business. You know, the game was tight, we were behind, whatever. And I knew when that look was there, I knew that she was gonna figure out how we needed to do what we needed to do. And Tamara, it was an honor to play with you. I love you. And there's no one else that deserves this more than you, and I'm just so happy to be here with you today. So everyone, please help me bring Tamara to the stage.
We can wear heels now.
So Jesse mentioned your drive and your will. Where did that come from?
Pretty much all those people at the table right there. Let's just say, first of all, my brother, it really came from him. I call him my agent. At the end of the day, like a lot of times where we didn't have a basket, he would make one. And he always pushed me to be better. My dad, gave me my first, those little jump soles that make you jump a little bit higher. He bought me my first pair. Never really worked, but he tried. And obviously my mom.
You knew nothing but postseason play in your time here. What was it beyond the talent? The chemistry, could just take us back to that time. What made your teams as good as they turned out to be?
Well, first of all, recruiting. I think that made it a special team. A lot of people don't know, we had 3 Big Ten Freshmen of the Year on our team. We had a lot of power. We had great shooting. We had great post players. But we also had a great coach. Jane Albright, at that time, she was Jane Albright Dieterle. She really put together a core nucleus of players that made it easy to push them. I didn't come here as a point guard, but by the time I left, she had me leading the team.
Jesse mentioned your versatility. I mean, you won a lot of awards, including Defensive Player of the Year in the Big Ten. You were all Big Ten. You had some All-American recognition. Was there any one that you kind of hold near and dear above all the others, all your accomplishments here as an individual?
My diploma.
Absolutely.
And the reason why I say that is I'd never seen my mom smile more with any trophy, any MVP award, any record than she did when I got my degree. It took me a while. I graduated here in 2002, but I didn't graduate until 2014. For me, I made it to senior citizen status. I was in a lot of those classes with a lot of the young kids, and you got to raise your hand and tell us about yourself. Hi, I'm Tamara. I'm African American Studies major, and I'm a senior citizen. So at the end of the day, it got me an opportunity to be back on campus, see all the new things here, but my diploma is the biggest thing that I have in my career.
Well, you were busy. A 6-year WNBA career, women's
Yes.
basketball as strong as ever, right?
Mm-hmm.
Really is.
Yes.
Who would you like to thank?
I definitely would like to thank my mom. She actually holds the record here as well. I played in 124 games, and she only missed 5. So she put 1,100. She put 1,100 miles on her Sebring. She made sure that she was at every game. I want to thank my sister. She was like my little angel on my shoulder, always telling me what not to do, and I always went to the left, but she was always there. She never wanted to be in the front, but she was always there. I want to say thanks to my little brother up here. Thanks for letting me still be good. I can still beat you, so still got a chance. As long as I can beat you, I'm good. And my 2 nieces over there. We got the 2025 recruiting class with my niece London right there, and then my little Blake. They are the ones that make me who I am. So anybody that's here, my friend Dusty, and just everybody here, like the whole University of Wisconsin, my coaching staff, and every player that I ever played with and stepped on the floor with in those 4 years.
I know they're all proud of you. You're a Hall of Famer. Congratulations.
Thank you so
Tamara.
much.
Thank you very much. Up next, we honor the captain of the 1915 Big Ten National Intercollegiate Championship cross-country team and former Olympian Arlie Shartt. To introduce Arlie into the Hall of Fame, we welcome the retired track and cross-country coach, now volunteer coach, the great Ed Nuttycone. Coach Nuttycone.
I'm going to speak very fast because we never know when the next fire alarm is going to go off. So you can open up the program and see and read of the great, outstanding athletic accomplishments of Arlie, but it is equally important to note what an amazing person and life he had outside the athletic arena. Born in Milwaukee, attended South Division High School, served in 2 world wars. Upon returning from the First World War, married his high school sweetie and raised 2 children, Arlie and Connie, who are here with us. They're both present with us today. And I might add that Dad must have had a great experience because, please stand up, yes. Dad must have passed down a good message because both of them ended up being UW Badgers also. Congratulations. Also, one of Arlie's daughters is here with us, Kristen and her son Tobias. Tobias is, here he is right here. And he's the great-grandson of Arlie Shart. And isn't it awesome? 3 generations are here celebrating a man who graduated 100 years ago. That's fantastic. It's evident that Arlie had an accomplished career. You can read that in the program. But he was way more than that, much more than that. Severely wounded in 1918 in World War I. 1 year later, wins a mile race, an international mile race in Paris. And 1 year after that, in 1920, was, and I believe, the only Olympic gold medalist in track and field for the Badgers. He raised 2 children, Connie and Arlie. Connie became a model, raised 3 kids of her own, and had a jewelry business. Arlie was a letter winner for the swim team. He earned a varsity letter while swimming. Was the editor of the Daily Cardinal here on campus, later writing for Sports Illustrated, Time Magazine, and headed the Environmental Defense Fund. I think your parents did a pretty good job of raising you guys. Inspirational, visionary, athlete, soldier, father, teacher, coach, high school principal, and early supporter of women athletics. Arlie Shart, truly a man for all seasons.
Okay, here I am.
There you go. Absolutely. Quite a life.
109 years old and still walking.
Doing well. Doing well. Doing great. What was your father's favorite memory here?
Well, he loved Wisconsin and was a lifelong fan and advocate of the university. But Connie, my sister, and I were talking just a little while ago about what might have been his favorite memory was that he was the son of his mother and dad were both immigrants from Germany who spoke almost no English, had basically no money. I remember Dad talking about getting 5 cents at dinner time every night and being sent down to the corner tavern to bring back a bucket of beer for everybody to have for dinner. And college was a very unlikely prospect, but he was thrilled that somehow or other he did manage to matriculate at the university. And Connie and I were determining that his favorite memory that we can remember, he was a very modest man and he didn't talk much about himself, but he was very proud of the fact that he was one of the laborers who helped build the Carillon Tower on Observatory Hill, which is, of course, one of the landmarks of the university. So he never talked about his track and field achievements, but he was very proud. He worked as a laborer on that he had all kinds of different odd jobs, but that was the one that he cherished the most.
It's fascinating that he didn't want to talk about that because, so I'll ask your thoughts. You think of the rich tradition of track here, and he's the first Olympic gold medalist in track and field from the University of Wisconsin. Knowing now the tradition of the program here, what does that mean to you and the rest of your family? He was the very first.
Well, actually, he's the only Wisconsin athlete who ever won a gold medal in Olympic track and field to this day. And it means a tremendous amount to him. In fact, if I could digress for just a minute, we have decided that we would like to donate his Olympic gold medal to the university.
Whoa.
This is the badge that was on his Olympic uniform when he ran in the 1920 Olympics in Antwerp, Belgium, right at the end of World War II. And the medal is in this beautiful case here, and I'll just hold it up for a second. Or maybe you can, Ed.
Sure.
Anyway.
Oh my goodness.
So we thought that it would be appropriate to donate it to the university because there's that beautiful trophy case in the W Club quarters where there's a huge trophy where Dad's cross-country team, he was the captain, and they won the National Collegiate Cross-Country Championship in 1917. And this, we thought, would be a wonderful accompaniment to that trophy. So, anyway.
That is incredibly generous. I was very nervous holding that, so I let you know.
I fooled you.
Yeah, you did. You did. That's wonderful. Who all would? I mean, he was a big advocate of women's sports. Started the first professional women's team, right? Basketball team,
first
right?
Women's professional basketball team back in the 1920s, the Milwaukee Cagerettes. And Bonnie, my wife, who's a demon researcher, has dug up these photographs of the Cagerettes. And in those days, of course, women, I think you'd be interested in this. I think they had to wear shorts, so to, down to here or something like that. I don't know what, but anyway, he was a very dedicated teacher. He loved American history. He taught American history and coached track after his Olympic career, and then became principal of Milwaukee Washington High School. But he was always, through all those years, I can remember when I was a kid, that he was always being interviewed by the Milwaukee papers, and they were always, he was always pressing for more recognition and opportunity to be given to women in sports. So it's a special thrill to see so many of the women here.
Absolutely. Finally, the tough question, the one you probably can't get everybody, but who all would you like to try to thank here tonight?
First of all, I'd like to thank Michelle Ballweg, wherever you are, Michelle.
There she is.
Can you stand up?
Stand up, Michelle. There you go.
Michelle probably dealt with about 897 emails between us over the last 6 months, and I just can't, you are so amazing, Michelle, that my wife Bonnie and I cannot thank you enough. And then the other person I really want to thank is my wife Bonnie. Bonnie helped me enormously with hours and hours and hours and hours and weeks of research, because Dad was so modest that we didn't know Connie and I didn't know half of the things that he had done. And Bonnie is a demon researcher. She was the she was the producer for NBC Sports for the closing ceremonies of the Barcelona Olympics, and then the Lillehammer Olympics, and then the Atlanta Olympics. And she's a demon researcher. She even got into East Germany when you were risking your life, and she got into their files. So she is really. So, Bonnie, could you stand up a minute? I mean, no? Okay.
No, not really.
Anyway, I wouldn't be here if it weren't for her, because she spent weeks and weeks doing research on finding out things about our dad that we knew nothing because he never talked about himself. So those are the two people. Michelle, who guided us through the labyrinth of everything, and Bonnie, I'll just thank you for the rest of my life for all that you did to find out all the things that we're now learning about Dad, about Connie's and my dad.
I'm glad you were here to tell us all about it. Thank you very much. Congratulations to your family.
Thank you.
So we've had a fire alarm, not so good, an Olympic gold medal, really good. We have a lot of variety here tonight. It's an amazing night. Next, we honor a multiple national champion athlete, an 11-time track and 3-time cross-country All-American, and current assistant coach of men's and women's cross-country at the University of Florida, Chris Solinsky. To tell us a little more about Chris, we welcome back Coach Ed Nuttycombe.
Thank you, Matt. Of all the great men's distance runners here at the University of Wisconsin, dating back over 100 years, starting with Arlie Short, Don Gierman, Glenn Harold, Steve Lacey, Tim Hacker, Pascal Dobert, to Mohammed Ahmed, no one had a more distinguished and honorable career than Chris Solinsky. As a young Wisconsin boy from Stevens Point, he always wanted to run for the Badgers. An incredibly hardworking and talented student and runner, he was, I can assure you, equally respected as a humble person and leader to both his teammates and coaches on and off the track. Chris had an amazing ability to make people rise to the occasion, which is one of the main reasons why he was on 12 Big Ten championship title teams out of 12. Never lost a Big Ten championship in 4 years. His NCAA cross-country teams finished a staggering second, first, and second during his career. And he had a lot to do with that. In 2007, at the NCAA Indoor Championships, he put team first, refusing to run in the 3,000 meter, which is later in the meet, refusing to run fresh to take the opportunity to become the only American runner to ever win that race 3 times at the national championships. He, in turn, chose to run the 5,000 the night before and the 3,000 to help his team win the national championship. Unselfishness was what Chris Solinsky was all about. Chris is now pursuing a coaching career, and I can assure you that if it shadows his earlier tremendous running career, it will be exciting to follow the future successes of his athletes and teams. Coach, Chris, as a coach and admirer who had a front row seat to your career, congratulations to this very, very well-deserved honor.
I can't not repeat what Ed mentioned, 12 for 12. I mean, the bullseye had to get bigger and bigger on the Badgers every year. Give us an idea of the drive that you, as a team, must have had to sweep the conference championships.
Well, I think Nutty and my event coach, Jerry Schumacher, did a really good job of surrounding the whole team, filling the team with people that relentlessly pursued excellence, and it was contagious. So I think our first one was probably the more nerve-wracking one. My freshman year indoors for track, it was only about a 40-point victory, so it was closer nail-biter than we would have liked. But each year after that, we never settled on our laurels, and coaches had a lot to do with that.
Stevens Point, right?
Mm-hmm.
Was this the dream for you when you knew that this could be a pursuit you could continue at the collegiate level? Was Wisconsin always the place for you?
Yeah. So sophomore year, I had a speech class where we had to write a letter, and I chose to write a letter to Jerry Schumacher telling him how I wanted to be a Badger. I never got a response until senior year. Come to find out later that there was rules against that, but I was a little peeved for a little while, so maybe I'm not going to be a Badger. But from little on, I mean, you live in the state of Wisconsin, it's hard not to be a Badger fan, Badger fanatic, and when Jerry called the first time, we talked on the phone for about 90 minutes to 2 hours, and right away I already knew.
You mentioned the conference championships. About the national championships, what was the it factor beyond the obvious of talent? What pushed you guys over the top?
I think it's chasing the legends that came before us, people like Arlie, people like Don Gearman, Tim Hacker, Steve Lacey, so many legends that came through here before us, chasing them down. The records that they laid down, the top 10 lists that they laid down, always pursuing to see if you could get yourself ahead of it. So like individually you had that drive, but then collectively, each person, no matter the event group, had their own drive to pursue it. And you saw Demi Amali as a sprinter on the team, Joe Thomas throwing for us. You saw them doing great things, and you're like, all right, my turn to step up. Let's do it.
You liking this coaching thing?
Loving it, yeah. Nutty and Jerry set down a really good example, and if I could Nutty's been a great mentor for me over the years and given me very solid advice, and I told him many times before, if I could be an eighth of the coach that he's been, I know I'm going to be a success.
Finally, now the tough one again, the thank yous.
The first, easy. My mom and dad, they convinced me at the time as a soccer player to give running a shot, even though I didn't want to. Cried the first day of practice because I didn't want to run in the rain. Led to some, good progress that my high school coaches created a love for me. My coaches here, Jerry Schumacher, Ed Nuttycombe, created a passion. The teammates that I was surrounded with, I would not have been able to do half the things I did without them, because they pushed me for everything I had, and they motivated me to get even more out of myself when I didn't think there was anything there. And as I said, the legends of the sport that came before us always had that measuring stick compared to them. And my wife, she had to leave with my daughter, but want to thank her because, first back up, thank the coaches for bringing me here and bringing her here, because we met here. She pole vaulted for the team, and it's led to a beautiful daughter and a son on the way in March. And so my life would be a completely different story without the University of Wisconsin. So I want to thank the coaches, but I want to thank Amy for being behind me 110% of the time and allowing me to travel all around the country, pursue post-collegiate running, professional running, and then the different coaching stops.
Let us thank you and say congratulations, Hall of Famer. Chris, thank you so much. Appreciate it. Up next, we honor a member of the 1977 Badger hockey team that won the NCAA champion. Talking about Olympian Bob Suter. To introduce Bob into the Hall of Fame, we welcome a guy who was there every step of the way in 1997. He has covered UW athletics for more than 40 years. My broadcast partner, Mike Lucas.
I want to first congratulate all of the Hall of Fame inductees who are in attendance tonight, all of the representatives of Hall of Fame inductees, all the family and the friends. I'm not a kid anymore, but this is my candy store. And it's a who's who, and I'm very privileged to be in your company. I'm also very privileged to be at this podium saying a few words on behalf of Bobby Suter and I thank the suitors. I know there are a few tables of suitors spread out throughout the room. Thank you very much for this honor. And I really am honored to say a few words. And there are a few words that I will always associate with Bobby Suter because he was a man of few words. A special man with simple tastes. He was more about deeds and actions, more about work ethic and work boots. He had a name for his work boots. He called them dress shoes. On the ice, he was fearless. He was selfless. He was tireless. He played hockey, he taught hockey. And he lived his life with unsinkable spirit. His close friends and his teammates called him Woody, like that wood duck on a pond. He always remained buoyant, popping back up with each ripple that threatened to sink his dreams. He dreamed big for himself and everyone around him. He dreamed big for all the youngsters that he later mentored, and he played big. He played really big. He was a 5'10", 175-pound stick of dynamite. I marveled at his rink-long rushes with the puck. He could skate with the wind. When he accelerated and turned the corner, he attacked the net and anyone who was standing in his path. In those days, the cages were anchored to the ice. They didn't budge. But it never slowed down Woody. If he couldn't go around you, he went through you. Bobby never backed down. Never backed down. He did, after all, have 377 penalty minutes. But if there is such a good thing as a good penalty, he took a lot of them. Because if you messed with Mark Johnson, you messed with Bobby Suter. And that's not a pleasant experience, and it wasn't. That threat resulted in a lot of open ice for Mark. Bobby was pugnacious, but he was also skilled. As a senior, he had 16 goals. That would have led the Badgers in scoring 3 years ago. Two of his coaching mentors were Bob Johnson and Herb Brooks. They usually agreed to disagree on just about everything. But they were both on the same page when it came to Bobby and his value. Whether building an NCAA championship team like the Badger Bob did in 1977, right here, or building a gold medal Olympic team like Herbie did in 1980, they both believed in Bobby. They believed that he was a much-needed and critical piece to the puzzle. Bobby broke his ankle less than 3 months from the opening of the Olympics in Lake Placid. While many counted him out, Herb Brooks did not. Brooks assured Bobby, you're going to come back and you're going to play for me. And sure enough, he did, even though he wasn't nearly the same player that he was prior to the injury. John Powers chronicled that Olympic season, and I'll leave you with some of his words. Bobby Suter made the Olympic team, he wrote, because he had two virtues that Herb Brooks valued the most: a bucket full of East Side working-class gumption and flying skates. I thought about those words while waiting to say goodbye to Bobby. My wife Peggy and I were waiting in line for over 4 hours. Maybe it was 5 hours. We waited in line with people of all ages, male and female, young and old alike, all wanting to pay their final respects. To this day, those lines are still a reminder to me of how many lives this very special Hall of Famer touched. I was Mr. Wilson to his Dennis the Menace, and I still think about him all the time. If you get a chance, check out the Players Tribune. Ryan Suter penned an incredible article to his dad. Obviously very proud of Bobby. Bobby very proud of Ryan. One of the elite defensemen in the National Hockey League, Ryan Suter, speaking on behalf of his dad. Ryan?
Well, Luke is right. You need to read that, the Players Tribune. We can give you a little sneak preview right now of Ryan. It's a fascinating piece that you wrote. So tell us about second grade show and tell.
Well, you got to go read the article. No, when I was younger, I grew up not really knowing what the 80 Olympic team was all about. Obviously, all my teachers knew. They would ask me every day if I could bring in his gold medal and, share it with the class. And sorry, I'm made me all teary-eyed, but the teachers would ask me to bring this in so that I could show the class, and I didn't know what it was. My classmates didn't have a clue what it was, so they wanted me to bring it in so that the teachers could show the other teachers. So that's basically that story. I would bring it in, and it would get lost throughout the school.
So when was it? What grade? Assuming not second. When did it fully hit you what he did and the accomplishments in this sport?
Probably not until I was probably 16, 17. I moved away. I got to wear the U.S. jersey, and I got to kind of get a little glimpse of what it must have felt like for him to wear that. I got to play in some international games, and I would start to hear more stories. My dad was a really humble guy. He wouldn't talk to me about it, and we just never asked him about it. So I would hear from teammates and coaches about it, and obviously now I realize how special it really was.
You just get the impression as we learn more and more about your father, the championships, high school, national, the gold medal, but is something as simple as a love of the sport above anything else? That's what drove him?
That's what it was. It was, I said in the article that he was most proud about his family. Obviously, he did some pretty special things. He won a state championship in hockey, national championship in hockey, and Olympic gold medal in hockey. And most people would be pretty proud of those things. And I think for my dad, he was most proud of his kids, his grandkids, and that's just the kind of guy he was. So, he every day he got up, he tried to make kids better and help kids, achieve their goals in life.
The more people I talk to who had the pleasure, the privilege of knowing your dad, say and you've touched on it here, it's about everybody but him. Yeah. So having said that, what would he think of this?
He's probably glad that this is happening now with him not being here. He was a very proud person. I'm sure he'd be very honored and very proud. He played at Wisconsin. My other two uncles, Gary and John, played at Wisconsin. They're here. Wisconsin is a special place for them, and for me growing up, I wanted to be like my dad and my two uncles and play at Wisconsin. And I think for my dad, he would just be he's a humble guy, and he probably wouldn't be up here on stage. I can guarantee you that. He'd be sitting down there making someone else do it. But he was a great dad and a great person.
So you have the role on behalf of the Suter family. Who would you like to thank?
Well, obviously, I'd like to thank Mike for that amazing introduction. Or I guess it wasn't really an introduction, but just a life story of my dad. You hit it right on the head. That's what he was. He was a humble, hard-working guy. I'm sure he would be up here thanking his parents, Marlo and Dodie, his brothers and his sister, I'm sure they got into a lot of fights. I remember my grandpa telling me stories how they'd go out and one of them would push the car, the other one would steer it, so thank them for getting into trouble. And just, he was a pretty happy, easygoing guy, and he'd like to just thank everyone here for being here.
Congratulations to your family. Ryan, thank you so much.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
So we gave you the preview. If you haven't read it, please read Ryan's piece in the Players Tribune. It really is, you'll be very, very moved. Next, we honor the record holder in Badger basketball history. The single-season record holder still belongs to Tracy Webster. Will be our latest inductee. To tell us more about Tracy, we welcome his former teammate, and of course we know him, assistant basketball coach right now, Howard Moore.
Well, this is an unbelievable night, and congratulations to all the inductees. It's a very special class, I got to say. It's a great honor and a privilege to talk about my friend and my brother. With all due respect to Daryl and Brooks, there's 3 quarterbacks being inducted to the UW Athletic Hall of Fame. And we had a great quarterback over in the field house in Tracy Webster. But let me tell you something about Mr. Webster. Tracy and I were scheduled to come on our official visits together in the spring of 1990. I flew in commercial from Chicago out of O'Hare, and I got into Madison, and we were out to dinner, and Coach Yoder and Coach Williams and Coach Schramm, who's here, they were all like, yeah, Tracy's going to be here, but he's flying in private on Perry Armstrong's plane. So I was like, I flew in commercial. Tracy flew in private. He must be a pretty special recruit. Once he got on campus, the thing that really stood out was his personality. And we both said on our visit we were going to come to UW, and that was a special day. Tracy, unfortunately, had to sit out his first year for a dumb rule that the NCAA realized was stupid and they got rid of. But at the same time, we had a pretty good team my freshman year, 1990-91 season. We went to the NIT to play Stanford, Adam Keefe and that really good group. But we had Patrick Tompkins, Willie Sims, Timmy Locum with the mullet flowing in the wind. And we were, as a freshman, I'm taking in this atmosphere of postseason play, and the field house was rocking and everything. And I remember looking to our beloved bleacher creatures. It's the Grateful Red now, but back then in the field house, it was the bleacher creatures. And I'm looking up in the stands, and there was a sign that said, this year NIT, next year Tracy Webster. I thought that was awesome. But I also said, brother, you got a lot of pressure on your shoulders, man. But let me tell you, the pressure was nothing for this guy. This guy handled it all. And again, as a quarterback, he led us. From a guy that was playing 40 minutes a game like Michael, who never came out, to a guy like me who played 2 minutes a game, who was begging to get in. He made us all feel a part of the team, and he made us all feel like we were a huge part of what was being built. And that was a special thing. But I tell you, before we went to the NCAA, we had a loss in NIT ourselves, and we lost to Rice. And in that locker room, we're down there, and everyone's kind of sad, and you can hear sniffing and crying. And then Tracy just jumps up out of his chair, and he rips off his jersey and said, it's my fault we lost. It's my fault. And everyone starts bawling. No, Tracy, no. And we're all like butt naked in the locker room crying. And who comes down? Not Stu Jackson, Bertha Finley comes down to the locker room. So we all go from bawling and crying to running for towels to cover ourselves and make sure she doesn't see us. And obviously she remembers. She says, oh, I've seen all that before. Y'all just shut up and stop crying. But I tell you what, with all due respect to Tracy, this is indeed an honor. There's a lot of people here, both coaches he played for, Steve Yoder, who I love for bringing us all together and having us here, is coming to see him. Coach Jackson, who really kicked our tail and got us to where we needed to be as well. Those were catalysts for where we are today as a program, and they deserve a lot of credit and respect. But that man right there is the reason why Wisconsin basketball is what it is today. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the UW Athletic Hall of Fame, the incomparable Tracy Webster.
I think we done now. Howard did the job.
You know what? He's exactly right. Everything he said about you, Trace. Let's go to the year when you guys broke through. You got into the NCAA tournament, the 93-94 season. That was heady stuff now. Rose Bowl championship that January, and then a few months later, Badger fans are watching the University of Wisconsin in Ogden, Utah in the NCAA tournament. When was it during that season, Tracy, where you as the leader, the quarterback, thought, yep, I think we've got the goods to get there?
Well, when we were actually over Coach Jackson's house, we were still a little bit nervous. I think we had just lost to Northwestern or someone, and we were all over there sweating. But we thought we had a chance to get in because we played well over the course of the year. Down the stretch, we lost a couple games, but I thought with the makeup, and I'm not just saying this, but I think having Michael and Rashard on our team, I think the NCAA and the television people wanted to see those guys. So I think that really helped too. But I thought Coach Jackson and those guys did a great job of selling why we should get in. So we really didn't know until the end. I just remember Coach Jackson at first having a look on his face like, wasn't sure, but then he walked out the room and came back. I think Dick Vitale or someone called him and said, you guys are in, but he didn't say anything, but you could tell that his expression changed a little bit. So when they called our name, called Wisconsin, I mean, the whole room, I can remember Chris Conger, I mean, everyone just started hugging. We were already close, but that just brought us even closer.
I love the Kohl Center, but there's a part of me, I know Rashard, Howard, we've talked about it, those Fieldhouse days, I mean, your ears would ring leaving there. What was that like for you as a player and as 11,500 became pretty much automatic? What did it mean to you individually and to your team?
Well, for me, I mean, I thought it was a great sixth man. Those guys, regardless if we were winning, losing, or whatever, they were always, the fans were always there. And that gave us a big-time boost. And even for our players, I mean, just like for anyone else, when you're playing at home, you get that extra boost. As a coach, you know, right now, we always tell our guys it doesn't matter if you're playing at home or away, but sometimes that's not true. But but you do feel a lot more confident at home. We felt confident at home, and I mean, our guys, it brought a lot of confidence to our guys. So we love that field house.
I think one of the local writers talked to you earlier in the week. People, I know Tamara, a couple of her records still exist to this day, as does yours. You mentioned one of them, the individual or the single season three-point record. The career dimes, career assists, you're still at the top. And you're a little surprised, aren't you?
Well, I am surprised with all the success that they've had. I'm sure it's going to be broken soon, but it's an honor to still have it. But playing with guys like Rashard and Mike and Howard and Chris Conger, and even the older guys, Billy Douglas and Jay Shell and those guys, which Billy Douglas said I only gave him like 3 passes when we played together. But I remember that when we play pickup next week. But it really was, it's an honor to still have that record.
Can you give yourself, I know there's always the coach in you, and you want today's Badgers to have their moment. But when they have had those moments through the years, can you and your teammates, big fella, Michael, Chris, can you say, yeah, you know what? Maybe what we did set it off. Can you give yourself that?
I mean, other people talk about it, but even with me, and I think our other teammates that played on that tournament team, you look at Coach Yoder years with Willie Sims and Trent Jackson and those guys, they did a good job as well. Like Howard mentioned, they got into the NIT tournament, you know, maybe a couple games away, but for the most part, I'm telling you, Wisconsin got better each year. Now, with what they're doing, it's a great thing to see, and I'm sure they'll keep up the good work.
Absolutely. And finally, again, the tough one. We talked earlier in the week. Don't expect you to get 100% on this, but some thank yous you may want to pass along.
Well, that is tough, but the same time, first of all, I love to thank God for having me in this position. It's just, it's an honor. I'm telling you, I'm kind of numb right now just being up here, but this is something that people dream for. You know, you see it as a little kid. You see it on television as a little kid saying, man, I wish that could be me one day. And now I'm here. But I like to give God that credit, as well as my family. My mom, my dad, who's here. My mom who passed away, I wish she was here, but I'm sure she's looking down on me, smiling right now. My family, my brothers and sisters who's here, the support that they've given me all through the years of my life, being the youngest of 7. I know without them pushing me, it makes it tough, but they made it easier for me. My teammates, I mean, I'm serious. Those guys, we got closer and closer each year, you know, and they were very special to me. Even like Howard said, when I had to sit out that first year, those older guys did a good job of corralling and being around me. And then when I played, Coach Yoder did a great job of allowing me to do some things, and the older guys did not get jealous. They pushed me even more. And I would love to give them credit for that. I really thank them for that. And I also want to thank the athletic directors, Pat Richter, who took a chance on me coming out of high school. It wasn't that easy getting into this high school, into Wisconsin. Took a chance on me, as well as Coach Alvarez allowing me to be on this stage right now. But last and not least, I have to thank my best friend, my best recruit, the person that's been with me for 18 years, my wife. Without her, I'm not sitting here. So, thank you.
All the people here, it speaks volumes of what you've meant to all of us. Congratulations.
Thank you
Hall of Fame, Tracy White. Thank you, Tracy. Next, we honor former head men's baseball, football, and basketball coach, Guy Lohman. To tell us more about Guy, we bring up another writer like Luke. Doug Moe, I consider great at their craft and an historian of so many things in the area. Doug has written for years about the Madison area, surrounding areas, and a lot about athletics, and he certainly knows a whole lot about Guy Lohman. Please welcome Doug Moe.
When the University of Wisconsin baseball field was named for Guy Lohman, a Madison newspaper man named Harry Golden wrote, "It is really great that Mr. Lohman has not been completely forgotten in the hubbub of modern callousness." 2 things about that. First, it was written in 1952. Second, who is a newspaper man to be calling anyone callous? But in any case, it's wonderful to see that 65 years later, Guy Lohman has once again not been forgotten. He has unique qualifications for induction into the UW Athletics Hall of Fame. In a single year, 1918, Lohman served as head coach for 3 different UW sports: football, basketball, and baseball. His Badgers won the Big Ten basketball championship that year with a record of 14-3. In 1930, Lohman won a Big Ten championship as head baseball coach with a record of 9-1. He didn't win a title in football, but his Badgers beat Ohio State in November 1918 in Columbus. It was 64 years before that happened again. Lohman also spent a quarter century as director of men's physical education on campus. Another UW coaching legend, Diney Mansfield, once said of Lohman, He was a wonderful coach, one of the smartest men I ever met, and a great teacher. Congratulations to a most worthy inductee, Guy Lohman.
And here to tell us more about Guy Lohman, we welcome to the stage his granddaughter, Sally Blackwell. Sally, come on up. Good job. Well, first off, happy birthday. Nice birthday gift, huh? Now, if my facts are right, your grandfather passed away a few months before you were born.
Yes, so I never knew him. I just knew about him.
When did you really start to learn more about him and his accomplishments here at the University of Wisconsin? When did it really sink in? It's like, wow, it's special.
Well, probably not till I got married, and my husband he's a Badger, and he is very interested in sports, and he was interested in that story, and so he pursued it.
Yeah, tell us more about that. Phil, your husband, was here. You were looking at Hall of Fame plaques and noticed that there was something missing.
He brought me up here on one of our trips from Illinois, where we were from, and we went to find his plaque. And there was no plaque. So the campaign began.
What was that like? I mean, getting the word out, because I think that's one of the great things about this event, because it does educate us about, oh yeah, look what he did.
Yeah.
Give us an idea of what the campaign, as you say, was like.
Well, I mean, I had no idea what he'd done, actually, but I learned what he'd done, and well, Phil started talking to people, and other people started talking to people. They're on my list of people to thank. But
it was, and we will get to that momentarily, the list of people to thank, but when you got the phone call, when you were informed that Guy Lohman is in fact a Hall of Famer, what was that like?
Yeah, that was great. I felt very good, and I'm glad that I'm here. I'm sorry that my mother isn't around to celebrate that as well. But what's wonderful for me, I think, is that we've got 3 generations here. I'm the granddaughter. My children are the great-grandchildren, and their children, the great-great-grandchildren of Guy Lohman, are all here to celebrate.
Wonderful.
So,
awesome.
I think that's nice.
It was awesome. You have the list, so we should get to the list of the thank yous.
Right. So, of course, I have to thank Phil, first of all, because he started the ball rolling, started talking and, pestering, I'm sure. And Jim Hoyt, who's here also, who is connected, knew who to talk to. Doug Moe as well, who wrote several lovely articles. And my good friend, Dick Ebbett, who wrote a wonderful letter for Guy Lohman. So I'm very thankful to all of you and happy. Who? Oh, yes. I knew I was going to forget. Yes, somebody I just met today, Otto Puls, who evidently did a lot of promoting. So I appreciate all of your work, and I'm excited about tonight.
We're so excited for you. He is so deserving. Congratulations so much. Thank you so much. All right, Otto, good job, buddy. That's terrific. Thank you. Our final inductee tonight, incredibly, at least from my perspective, has the same energy now as he did nearly half a century ago when he was named the director of the University of Wisconsin Marching Band. Of course, we were talking about the incomparable Mike Leckrone. To introduce Mike, please welcome former president of the Wisconsin Alumni Association and herself a Wisconsin Athletic Hall of Famer, Paula Bonner.
Good evening, everyone. What an extraordinary night this has been. The stories across these generations incredible. And I think if we all had on hats right now, we could turn them backwards, because we have certainly had an undefeated evening, and we have won every kind of sport we could have played. And soon the guy who invented the fifth quarter is going to be up here. And what an honor it is to be here to welcome Mike Leckrone. And I thought I'd do a little bit of something different with Mike. So I took a look, and I'm going to describe Mike a little bit as Mike by the numbers. As Matt said, he's already served 47 years as head coach of the UW Varsity Band, and I think running the band is a lot like being a coach. Along with it, he's a John Bascom Professor of Music. I figured out that for those 47 years, if you just think about the football regular season alone, and you put together the pregame, the halftime, and the fifth quarter periods, he has led his team of band members 798 times. Just in football. It's amazing. I think it really fits tonight that Mike is being honored along with Darrell Bevel and Brooks Bollinger. That connection between the run that Darrell made is so famous. It's in my mind. I can see it right now. Just before that game, though, started, the other memory I have in January 1, 94, is we're all there. It's Camp Randall West, and the marching band runs in from the stadium to start the pregame, and everybody around me is crying and cheering. What a moment. In 1973, Mike led 120 musicians and choreographed them to perfectly perform Rufus Ferguson's Shuffle, the Roadrunner Shuffle, at a halftime game. Back to the Rose Bowl, the man has walked 33 miles in Pasadena. It's more than a marathon, 5.5 miles, 6 times his 33 miles he has traveled along the Pasadena streets. He kept fans in the stands, as you heard, starting the fifth quarter. He's published over 200 musical arrangements that have been published. He sponsored the first band concert in Music Hall to a crowd of 450. And you think back today, we have thousands, three sold-out performances. Along with it, though, he's passed along a lot of wisdom to those members of the band and the students that he has taught. He has a great philosophy. The top line that I heard from some of the alumni band members thinking about tonight is, "Eat a rock." The guy is tough. He is really, really tough. And so let's welcome this super athlete, this Energizer Bunny, the guy that, being an alumni director for the last 18 years and in the Alumni Association, he is Mr. Ambassador. He's traveled all over, and he's the originator of one of my favorite chants. When you say Leckrone, you've said it all. Welcome, Mike Leckrone.
You probably had this question, I don't know, 500 times or more, but I just marvel, all the things you do, I marvel at the energy. How do you do it? You've got the energy now. You're a little tired. That fire alarm was kind of a bummer, I know. How do you do it?
Well, you know, you've heard from people today where you get the energy. I get the athletes. I'm so proud to have known almost all the people who were up here. You see what they do, and you feel like if you don't capture that, you've let somebody down. Maybe yourself, or maybe the other people, or the people in the band. And I tell you, you can't work with 250 college kids and not hold on to some energy, or you're going to be done really quickly.
Good point. Paula mentioned the Rose Bowls, and she's right. I had so many people And I think to this day, I mean, if it's any of the Rose Bowls, the more recent ones, but certainly 94, the Rose Bowl parade, tears were coming down. Badger, what about you?
Oh,
What's
yeah.
that like?
That's when people ask me what's your most memorable moment with any time, it's that Rose Bowl, that first Rose Bowl in '94. It was not just a moment, it was a series of moments. It was one moment after the other, and it never stopped from the time we walked into the stadium till Brooks got across the goal line. It was amazing. The fifth quarter was unlike anything I had ever. They had riot police out there because they didn't know what the fifth quarter was, and they expected the very worst. And it was just an amazing thing. I still get excited just thinking about that '94 Rose Bowl.
Oh, it does, goosebumps. And you're seeing, to hearing from Brooks here tonight. You are known for many things outside of the actual events and the pep rallies. The spring concert is such a popular event, and part of that involves you literally flying, right? I mean, you're kind of flying through the air.
Yeah.
You ever wonder, like, what am I doing? Am I going to trust this cable? Is this going to keep me up?
No, I don't worry about that so much. Maybe I worry about what I had for dinner based on the people down below me. But it really is that's a feeling that I can't really express. It's just part of what being in the Wisconsin band is, and we try to outdo each other. The band tries to outdo me, I try to outdo them, and so that's where it all came from.
I'm going to guess you win most of those. You outdo them. She referred to you as a coach, Paula, and coaches and players. There are certain men and women who have superstitions. Is there a routine that you feel like you need to go through before every time your group performs?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I will have, tonight when I go home, there will be a routine that I do. I'll polish my shoes the same way. I'll put on the same smelly pair of socks. Everything has I walk to the stadium the same way. I've done that I'll correct Paula, this is my 47th year. I'll walk to the stadium the same way. I'm a mess.
Wouldn't trade it, though.
No.
Wouldn't trade it. Who would you like to thank?
Well, there's an awful lot of people. Obviously, everybody connected with Wisconsin athletics, I'd like to thank, because you've made my job so easy. You've made it such a pleasurable thing for me to do. You've spurred me on. You've given me motivation, and I get an awful lot of inspiration by seeing these athletes work. I mean, you know it because you deal with them, but seeing the athletes achieve, that motivates me, and I'm so thankful that I had that experience. Obviously, want to thank my family. Got 5 kids. I don't write music all the time.
We might have a new line of the night, by the way.
But they've been great. I'm sure I wasn't the father they wish they'd had because I was at a hockey game or a basketball game or a football game. But I thank them for putting up with me as a father for all those years. And also like to thank my wife. We were together for 67 years. Actually, we were married for 67 years. We started going together in the 7th grade. And she told me that I had no choice. But she was an inspiration for me and told me when I was wrong, gladly, and told me when she thought I was right, and was, for all of you who are Badger fans, she was part of the, I guess you'd say, the nucleus that kept me going, and I certainly want to thank her at this point. There's not enough words for me to express what I think, but thank you very much, and thank you.
Thank you. You give us a lot of energy, Mike. I saw you today. I know it's game day. Congratulations.
Well, this is one heck of a night. I mean, a tremendous class. A touch of a disjointed start, but they're Hall of Famers. They adapt, they adjust, they deal with it, and it's turned into another wonderful night. Selfishly speaking, it's been so great to see so many of the basketball guys around here, to see Coach Yoder, to see Coach Jackson, obviously the great representation from all of the sports. It says a lot about this class and how highly regarded each and every one of them is and always will be. So before we close out the program, we certainly want to give a special thank you to everybody in the UW Athletic Department, the National W Club, the nominating selection committee, and the great staff here at Union South for making this a special night for all of us. One more business item as we congratulate this year's Hall of Fame class of 2017. We certainly welcome you back to the front along with all of the past Hall of Fame inductees, because as you know, no event here is officially closed until we do varsity. So if we can get all of this year's inductees, any of the past inductees who are so inclined, led by a Hall of Famer in his own right, Bucky Badger, come on up. Get him up here, Bucky. This is always, they're like, I got to come up here one more time. Or you can go along the front if you want, if you're not comfortable up here. But it is a great photo op for everybody to see all of you Hall of Famers together. All right. I can't sing, but I'll do the 1 and a 2. Here we go. I'll 1. We should, Mike, lead the way here. Thank you all for being here. Congratulations to the class of 2017. Good night. On Wisconsin.